Hello my loves and welcome to today's video. Today is the last video of June, so it is as always my monthly book club. Now if you can hear a weird noise in the background, I apologise, that's my fan, because if you live in the UK, as I'm sure some of you do, we are having one hell of a heat wave, so it's ridiculously hot, hence the fan being on. So yeah, today is, as I mentioned, my book club, and this is where I talk through my top 5 books of the month. Now, I am a massive reader, so I do read more, but these are just my top picks. One of them I don't have. I actually gave that to a friend of mine to read, so I'll just tell you about that one first. And it was a book called Frangipani, and it's based in Tahiti, written by a Tahitian woman called Celestine. Hang on a minute. Celestine Hitiura Vati, I'm thinking. And it's a really cool book. It's just about everyday life in Tahiti. It's really interesting. I love reading about other cultures and other countries, and it just really interested me. It's because there are a lot of books about various other cultures. I haven't seen that many books about Polynesian culture, and it's very interesting to read their way of life and how they think and stuff like that. And it's about just a woman and her going through her years, having children, having a husband, dealing with her children moving out, leaving home, and about various members of their family. And it's a really interesting book. I would highly recommend it. As I do with every one of my book club, I will list all of the books down below with a link where you can buy them if you want to go and check that out. So the other 4 I do actually have to show you, and the first one is this. If you don't know, I'm a big lover of Morse and Lewis and stuff like that, and this is what the TV show is based on. They're books by an author called Colin Dexter, and there are quite a few of them. This is the last one in the series, and it's called The Remorseful Day. I haven't actually finished this yet. I'm pretty close to finishing it. But so far it's about the murder of a woman a year before, and Morse is on a furlough, which is like a break, if you like. He's on his sort of annual leave from the police force, and he's called back in by his sergeant, or his superintendent, called in by his superintendent to have a look a year later into this case. And basically his super pulls rank and says, "You're doing it," alongside his sergeant, Detective Lewis. So yeah, I will let you know more in next month's book club about that one when I've actually finished. So yeah. Okay, the third book is this one, and this is a book called The Madonna of the Almonds, and it's by an author called Maria Fierato, who is, as you can probably tell by the name, an Italian author. And this is based in the Lombardy region of Italy, which is northern Italy up near Milan, so pretty close to the Alps. And it is effectively about the invent of amaretto. And basically there's a woman, a young girl, she's living in this big house with her husband. Her husband goes off to war, and he tragically is killed in battle, and she realizes then that he's basically wasted all of their money on battle. This is based in the 1500s, so around the time of Leonardo da Vinci, just to give you a sort of time frame. And yeah, so she's having to sell everything off, and her life is not going too great. She's having to dismiss all the servants, etc. And then Leonardo da Vinci's apprentice, actually an artist called Bernardino Luini, who is a real person. He is a real author. He painted some churches in places like Milan and Florence and Venice and stuff like that, and he was a big fresco painter. And he's called to this little town, and he's paid to paint the church, and he sees this woman and decides he has to have her for his model. And she's so hard up that she finally agrees, and they start falling in love. All the while, which we don't realise, her husband didn't actually die in battle. He lost his memory and ended up marrying another girl. And basically the end of the story is that he finally remembers who he is, goes back, sees that she's all loved up, really lovely and happy and married, and has children. with this man, and he can't do it. He decides that he's going to keep quiet and go back to his new wife, and they all lead really happy lives. There is also some religious stuff going on in the background of this book. At the time, in the 1500s, the Jews were being eradicated all the way across Europe, not unlike 1940s Poland, and they were being eradicated all across Europe. They were told that they were heretics and that their religion was wrong, and they kept having to move from country to country, and every single time they tried, they were displaced and, you know, caused to be diaspora all across the country, all across the world. And yeah, so it's a really fascinating book. Okay, the fourth one in this month's book club is this, and this is a book called The Tea Planter's Wife by Dinah Jeffries, and I absolutely love her author. She is such a good author. Everything is so well written. And I actually forgot to say about the Madonna of the Almonds book, being a bit of a history nut, I don't like reading historical books that are inaccurate. These are actually quite accurate for the time, and everything sort of fits, which is quite nice. And it's the same with this. This is based in 1930s, what is now modern day Sri Lanka, but back then was called Ceylon. It's where Ceylon tea comes from, and it's a young girl. She marries a tea plantation owner, moves out there, and then finds out there's quite a lot of dark secrets within the family over time, and she gives birth to a set of twins. One is white skinned like her and her husband, and one is darker skinned, and she panics, thinks she's been raped when she got drunk one night by a Sinhalese man, and so she freaks and she sends this girl off to go and live with somebody else. Anyway, after a few years, the guilt just gets to her, and she ends up bringing this child back, and she thinks that she's got away with it, etc., etc. It turns out her husband has known for a while, and it also turns out that he has Sinhalese relatives, these dark-skinned relatives. And before he married her, he had a previous wife, and this wife killed herself, and their son, who was also dark-skinned. And so yeah, it's really, really good. It's really you know, sort of deep, and it makes you really think, these sorts of books. And the final book in this month's book club is another one by Dinah Jeffries, and this is a book called The Separation. And again, it's based in 1950s, what is now modern day Malaysia, was back then called Malay, or Malaya. And basically this woman ends up going to look after a sick friend, and when she comes back, her husband and her children are gone. She then goes to the British consulate, and they say that he's up in a town further north called Ipoh. And she goes there, and when she gets there, there's a massive explosion of the building they're meant to be living in. She thinks that her husband and her children are dead, and she ends up falling in love with another man, a man that she'd had an affair with. And then he is shot and killed by Malayan rebels. So she goes back to the capital and to try and find out more about what happened and the deaths of her children and her husband. And then she finds out that they didn't die. He actually left for England. And yeah, so it's then all this stuff about sort of finding them, getting all their papers, and going back to England and finding her daughters, and yeah, being reunited, and also finding out that her husband had a son with a native. So yeah, that is it for this month's book club. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and press the big red subscribe button. As I said before, all of these books will be linked down in the description box down below for you to look at, as will all my other social medias, my Instagram, my Twitter and my Snapchat, and so will my blog. There is new video content here every Tuesday, every Thursday and every Saturday, and there is new written content on my blog every Wednesday and every Sunday. I will see you guys all very, very soon. Bye bye.